Prepare to have your mind blown. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of perception and optical illusions. Now, what exactly is perception? In layman's terms, it's the process of making sense of the world around us. It's the brain's way of interpreting and processing data received from our senses. Sounds simple, right? Well, not quite. Our brains are like supercomputers, constantly working overtime to make sense of an immense amount of data. They analyze an astounding 200 million bits of information every second. That's more than the entire Harry Potter series, written out 1,000 times over. Every second. Mind-blowing, isn't it? But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Our brains are not just passive receivers of information, they're active interpreters, often adding their own spin to what we see, hear, and feel. That's why two people can look at the same object and perceive it differently. It's not about the eyes, it's about the brain. Now, let's talk about some of the quirks in our perception. Have you ever looked at a cloud and seen a dragon or a face in your toast? That's a phenomenon called pareidolia, where the brain tries to find familiar patterns where none exist. It's just one of the many ways our brains try to make sense of the world. And then there's the McGurk effect, a perceptual quirk where what we hear can be influenced by what we see. If you watch a video of someone saying ba, but the audio says fe, you're likely to hear fe. It's a fascinating demonstration of how our senses can influence each other. So, as you can see, our brains are doing a lot more work than we give them credit for. They're not just interpreting the world around us, they're shaping our reality. And sometimes, they can even trick us into seeing things that aren't there. But we'll delve into that in our next segment. Stay tuned. Now that we understand perception a bit better, let's look at some optical illusions that really mess with our minds. Imagine a simple black and white image that, when stared at long enough, suddenly transforms into a vibrant, moving picture, or a seemingly impossible staircase that loops endlessly. These are optical illusions, and they're all about tricking the brain. They're like magic tricks for the eyes, crafted to deceive, amuse, and sometimes outright baffle us. Optical illusions are fascinating because they reveal the gaps between what our eyes see and what our brain interprets. It's like a grand game of telephone, where the message gets a little distorted each time it's passed along. In the case of optical illusions, our eyes are passing along information to our brains, but somewhere along the way, things get a little funky. Take the classic example of the ambiguous images, where one picture can be interpreted in two different ways. A popular one is the rabbit-duck illusion. You might see a duck at first, but look again and you might see a rabbit. What's happening here is that your brain is flipping between two possible interpretations of the image. Or consider the Ebbinghaus illusion. Here, two circles of the same size are placed near different-sized circles. Because of the contrast, our brain perceives one of the equal-sized circles as larger than the other. It's a brilliant display of how context can skew our perception. But why does our brain get fooled so easily? Well, it's because our brain is constantly trying to make sense of the world around us. It uses shortcuts and patterns to process information quickly. Most of the time, these shortcuts are incredibly helpful. But when it comes to optical illusions, these shortcuts can lead us astray, like a seasoned comedian delivering the punchline. Optical illusions exploit our expectations and assumptions, serving up a visual joke that our brains didn't see coming. And that's the fun part. Just imagine if our brains can be so easily fooled by a simple drawing or a clever arrangement of shapes. What else might we be missing in the world around us? It's a humbling reminder of the limits of our perception. So next time you come across an optical illusion, don't just marvel at the trickery. Take a moment to appreciate the intricate dance between your eyes and brain that's happening behind the scenes. After all, it's this complex process that allows us to experience the world in all its vibrant, chaotic, and sometimes illusionary glory. Isn't it amazing how easily our brains can be tricked? Ever wonder how magicians and illusionists are able to fool us so easily? Well, they're masters of a craft known as misdirection. It's not just about sleight of hand or quick movements, but rather about controlling where your attention goes. Misdirection is a psychological technique that's all about manipulating attention. Imagine your attention as a spotlight. In a magic performance, the magician is the director who guides the spotlight of your focus, ensuring it shines where they want and leaves in shadow what they wish to conceal. Now, let's delve into some history. One of the most famous illusionists, Harry Houdini, was a master of misdirection. It's said that he could make an elephant disappear on stage. How did he pull off such a feat? Misdirection. While the audience was engrossed in his captivating narrative and dramatic gestures, they failed to notice the subtle stage mechanics that allowed the elephant to exit. Another notable illusionist was Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin, often considered the father of modern magic. He was known for his clever use of misdirection combined with mechanical innovation. One of his most famous tricks involved a heavy chest that could be lifted by a small boy but not by a strong man. The secret? Misdirection and a hidden electromagnet. But it's not all about grand illusions on stage. Misdirection can be as simple as a coin trick. When a magician appears to pull a coin from behind your ear, they're not really doing that. While they capture your attention with one hand, the other hand, holding the coin, is momentarily ignored. The coin was there all along, just not where you were led to believe it was. Misdirection isn't just limited to magic though. It's a fundamental part of our lives, from the way advertisements are designed to capture our attention to how politicians sometimes use it to steer public discourse. So what can we learn from this? Our minds are powerful, but they can be led. We can be made to see or not see based on where our attention is directed. It's a fascinating testament to the power of perception. But remember, as much as our minds can be manipulated, they're also capable of incredible feats. With a bit of understanding and awareness, we can become better at spotting these tricks and perhaps even use them to our advantage. So next time you watch a magic show, remember, it's all in the mind. So, we've seen how our brains interpret the world and how illusions can trick us, but how does this all apply to our everyday lives? Perception is not just about how we see colors or shapes. It's a complex process that influences how we navigate and interact with the world around us. And it's not limited to our five senses. It also involves how we interpret what we experience, which can vary greatly from person to person. Take, for instance, the field of design. Ever wondered why certain products catch your attention while others don't? It's all about perception. Designers use color, shape, and texture to create a visual appeal that influences our perception, often on a subconscious level. They are essentially harnessing the power of perception to create a desired response in us, the consumers. Perception also plays a key role in advertising. Advertisers use various techniques to influence our perceptions and ultimately our purchasing decisions. This could be through the use of catchy jingles that stick in our minds, appealing visuals that draw our attention, or emotional narratives that resonate with us. They're all ways of shaping our perception of a brand or a product. And then there's psychology and decision-making. Our perceptions shape our beliefs, attitudes, and actions. Psychologists often work to understand how these perceptions form and how they can be changed. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy is a type of psychological treatment that works to change negative patterns of thinking or perceptions to improve a person's mood and behavior. So, you see, perception is not just a passive process, it's an active one that we can learn to harness and use to our advantage. Whether it's creating an appealing design, crafting a successful advertising campaign, or improving our mental health, understanding perception can have real, practical benefits. It's amazing, isn't it? How our brains, complex and magnificent as they are, shape the way we experience the world. Our perception, unique to each of us, is our personal lens through which we view reality. Perception truly is a powerful tool, shaping our experiences one moment at a time. Wow, what a journey we've been on. We've unraveled the wonders of perception, the illusions that trick our minds, and the art of misdirection. We've seen how perception influences our everyday life, from the ads we see to the decisions we make. Now, it's your turn. Share your favorite illusions or personal experiences with perception in the comments below. Remember, our minds are capable of incredible feats. Keep exploring the wonders of perception.